Hello and welcome to Spirited Debate. I'm Lauren Green. Well, both conventions are over and we're now fully focused on the general election. But for people of faith, though, what's at stake? The American Pastors Network is trying to get the word out about how biblical truths can help inform your political selections. And here to explain is Pastor Sam Rohrer, president of the American Pastors Network. Welcome to you, Pastor.
Lauren, it's great to be with you today.
So what is at stake in this election when it comes to issues of faith?
Well, you know, what's really at stake is freedom as we know it in America. At stake is the rule of law. At stake is whether or not we will continue to have a republic run by a constitution that actually applies to all people or only to a few people. Really, what is at stake is America as we have known it in every regard. All of our amendments, First Amendment, free speech, freedom of religion, to Second Amendment, the right to protect our families and ourselves, to the 10th Amendment, the separate powers of the individual states. All of these are at stake, Lauren.
You know, how does the Pastors Network actually view the candidates, both Clinton and Trump? How do they look at them?
Well, you know, I think we look at them very clearly in this regard. Hillary Clinton and her linkage to Barack Obama are very, very clear in that they despise the rule of law. They believe they are above the law by their own comments, not just my opinion, their own comments. And they are not to be trusted. They are not to be trusted, again, by their own actions. And, of course, that's that's out there, and we all know that. I need to go over that. Donald Trump represents something that is outside the normal from the political perspective very clearly. He has raised questions in many people's mind as to who he really is. But at the end of the day, the issues that Donald Trump is talking about, the fact that he has identified the true ideological enemies of America, which I would put down as Islam and Muslim Brotherhood, globalism, and the establishment, and his ability to speak on these issues with force makes a clear choice, in our opinion, to these two candidates coming into the fall.
But not all people of faith actually feel that way, because I was just interviewing people from the Catholics and Alliance for the Common Good, and they actually really support Hillary Clinton because he said, you know, there are a lot of things that people of faith can look at, not just, you know, the fear factor of Muslims coming into the country or, other issues, but also in terms of how you take care of the downtrodden and the poor. But one of the things that's very important is, and I think that a lot of people of faith want to know, is what kind of qualities should people of faith be looking for in a candidate? Without naming names, what are the specific qualities so that people can actually make a decision for themselves?
Well, I think a major distinction is what is their view of the Constitution and the role of government. What do they believe about the role of the family and the intersections of the jurisdictions of civil government and the church and the family? These are very, very clear indicators of how a person will actually view the purposes of civil government as vis-a-vis the purposes of the family and the church as meeting the needs of the poor. No one who is a Christian or even says they are they know that the meeting of the needs of the poor, the widows, the orphans, and the poor is a responsibility of the church. Where we have gotten off is that the liberal side of the equation, those who believe in big government, have believed that the government is better equipped to meet those needs than the church, and unfortunately, too many in the church have said, well, all right, fine, government, you go ahead and do it, but to their own harm.
One of the things that someone was talking to me about, they don't really believe that politics can solve the issue, that a politician cannot save your soul. So how do you navigate the dilemma of preaching biblical truths while not trying to preach politics?
Well, it's a great thing. The great question. The distinct thing and the dividing line is this. Biblically understood, God has established a purpose and a role for civil government, a purpose and a role for the home and the family, and a purpose and a role for the church. Where people get off is when they begin to usurp or cross those lines, saying the church ought to do the government's job, the government ought to do the church's job, or together they ought to do the family's job. Our founders understood this distinction, and it was built within our system. And therefore, the preaching of the Word of God is not ever political unless you don't ever talk and apply by biblical principles, but speaking to the issues of why is man and woman, why are man and women made? What is the purpose of a husband and wife, family and children? What is the purpose of the church? When these things are spoken to biblically, which is what the Word of God speaks about, then many of these sometimes confusing issues are very quickly brought into clarity.
Very interesting stuff. I want to thank you so much, Pastor Sam Rohrer, for being here from the American Pastors Association, American Pastors Network. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And for more information, you can check out the AmericanPastorsNetwork.net. I'm Lauren Green, and thanks for watching A Spirited Debate.